Non-profit organizations. Who wouldn't want to support a company that uses the money they get to fund it towards people who need help, or fund it towards research that advances a study that could potentially save so many lives? This all sounds great, right? Companies like Make-A-Wish, who grant children with terminal illnesses any wish that they could ever want, whether it be meeting a celebrity or going to Disney World, or even St. Jude, that raises donations to advance childhood cancer research to eventually find a cure. And they even have their own hospitals where kids with cancer and their families can go for treatment, and the company pays for everything, including housing and food, are terrific organizations that actually help a cause and provide assistance for those who desperately need it. However, not every organization is going to be honest about helping the people they claim to help. Sometimes these companies lie, manipulate, and instill fear and not hope. And today, we'll be going over why people no longer trust Autism Speaks, including many individuals who are actually neurodivergent themselves, and why they shouldn't be given anything except harsh criticism and being shut down. Hello, kings, queens, and everything in between. I'm Lizzie, and if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. I've been thinking of doing a lot of video ideas that involve company scandals and things of that sort, so maybe I'll make it into a series, but also maybe not, because I feel like it might be too similar to a certain shitty YouTuber no one likes anymore, but I'll think about it. Also, quick reminder that my voice sounds like I'm 12, but I am actually 18, and I am tired of saying it over and over again. Anyway, enough of my yapping, and let's begin. First, we need to talk about some of their campaign videos that are supposed to raise awareness about autism and garner donors, but fearmonger and belittle instead. For example, let's take a look at one of these videos titled, "I Am Autism." In this video, it shows several children with ominous music in the background and a voice saying the most unsettling things I have ever heard, such as, "I am autism. If I can help it, I am invisible until it's too late. If you're happily married, I will make sure your marriage fails. I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain." Phrases that are meant to strike fear into people instead of actually help them. This does not do anything except make people scared and make people with autism feel they can't live a normal, happy life. Tells them they're a burden to their families and everyone around them, which is incredibly harmful and doesn't do any good. This video first premiered at the Autism Speaks World Focus on Autism event in front of so many families and their children who need support not to be scared. Another example would be their campaign ad, Autism Every Day, where it starts off literally showing children with autism having their worst moments recorded for the world to see, so it's already very exploitative. And I don't have any children myself, obviously, but even as someone who has been a tutor for a lot of children who have it, that was not always so easy, so I can only imagine how the parents feel. However, autism is not one size fits all, and it's not a disease that needs to be eradicated like they act like. Children cannot help meltdowns. Hell, some adults can't help meltdowns, and they definitely shouldn't be recorded to make people afraid of individuals with autism or make families afraid if their child has it. Anyways, in this campaign ad, they interview several parents on what it's like to have a child who's on the spectrum. One mother says, "I didn't choose to do this. I'm not a therapist. I was drafted." Like it's some kind of war that your child is neurodivergent. I'm going to tell everyone here something real quick. Again, I don't have kids, but if you choose to have a child, you are signing up for however the child turns out. Whether that be autism, being trans, being gay, having disabilities, being different, being overweight, being underweight, you are signing up for having that child. I'm sure it's not easy being a parent, and there are moments of frustration, but you should still love that child unconditionally without saying you didn't sign up for it. You sign up by having the kid. Also, someone in the comments pointed out something very true. The parents in this video are all saying how difficult it is and how they have no lives, but imagine how it is for the child who actually has it. But there's also one thing in the video I really want to mention. One parent said that she contemplated driving in her car with her child and driving them both off of a bridge. Yeah, She says it so calmly too, and yes, people don't think straight when they're emotional. I get that. But this organization made the deliberate decision to keep that part in without a care in the world. So this is what Autism Speaks wants to put out to raise awareness for autism? I don't think so. Again, I can only imagine how parents and their children with ASD feel on a daily basis. I have no doubt that it's a struggle, and there are a lot of frustrations and emotional moments that come with it, just like raising any child. But it's incredibly wrong on so many levels to portray people with autism as if there's no future for them and no amazing moments and no hope. Fear-mongering, like I said before. Moving on to the next little tidbit of information. Bob Wright, who is one of the founders of the organization, stated that it's possible autism is caused by vaccines. And not only that, but he said this at a time where people were beginning to fear that vaccines could genuinely cause harm and lead to their children developing autism. This guy, who so many people trusted because of his work in the organization, made that statement and caused even more panic. Y'all, I cannot believe I have to say this once again, but vaccines do not cause autism. There have been studies and absolutely none of them have shown any evidence to support this claim. It is not true, and to say that it is completely irrational, dangerous, and irresponsible, and any other horrible word you can think of, especially if people look up to you and look to you for information. Bob, you'd think with that big-ass forehead, you'd have a lot of space in there for a brain, but it seems to be hollow, you fucking moron. Now, let's say that you decide to donate to this organization for whatever fucking reason. Let's see how they use your funds, shall we? As of 2023, less than 1% of donations went to the family services, which would basically mean support for families in need. 38.2% went to fundraising or collecting money. 28.7% went to quote-unquote awareness and lobbying, which would be their ad campaigns to get people to donate, and lobbying would be attempting to contact legislators to change specific laws, and 25.7% went to research. In other words, they don't prioritize supporting families and children in need. They mainly use it just to collect more money to put out their bullshit campaigns to get you to donate without actually doing anything to support their cause. Also, as of 2023, the only people that they had on their committee that had autism were two single people on their board with 29 total people. How can you be a group dedicated to helping people with autism but barely have any autistic people on your team to give their points and perspectives? As autismadvocacy.org puts it, Autism Speaks talks about us without us, and that's a perfect way to describe that. In fact, the individuals with autism who worked for the company didn't exactly paint a pretty picture about it either. John Robinson stated that his role was limited to only making some recommendations and didn't even consider himself as an employee. Autism Speaks also reportedly was against an amendment to the Autism Cares Act that would have made sure federal boards include individuals with ASD to advocate for themselves and their rights in situations on the topic. So for a company that's named Autism Speaks, where's the speaking part? Oh, what's that? It's the same people you claim to help around the world that all collectively hate you. Yay! They also use funds for applied behavioral analysis, which is a type of therapy that uses positive reinforcements to encourage certain behaviors, but it's been heavily criticized and shown to cause some people with autism to suppress their traits and hide who they are. It's also said to be very intense, which is also why it's controversial. But very little of the funding for Autism Speaks actually goes towards research or helping people. I'd look at their tax forms that are public to get a full idea of what they use the money for, besides what I've already mentioned, but I'm way too stupid to understand any of it in full detail, so I am sorry. Top executives also get $600,000 a year, which kinda doesn't sit right with me, but I'm also not a business person, so I can't tell you how much a nonprofit CEO should be earning. I don't know. I can just tell you it doesn't feel right at all. Autism Speaks is essentially founded on the principle that autism is a burden that needs to be quote-unquote cured, and that's incredibly dangerous and offensive to people who have it because they aren't a burden. If you have autism, that just means your brain works a little differently than others, and that's okay. Autistic and other neurodivergent people and their families should be able to get the support they need to live long and happy lives. No, autism does not need to be cured. Nothing that falls under the neurodivergence umbrella needs to be cured because it's not a disease. I believe that having autism makes you unique, and I like unique. Should they be able to get support for things that they struggle with like everybody else? Absolutely. Does it need to be cured? No, it doesn't. Resources are available to help people who are struggling, but it doesn't need to be eradicated or cured like Autism Speaks seems to believe. People with ASD deserve better, and there are much better nonprofits that actually aim to help instead of hurt. And I wouldn't ever be giving Autism Speaks any of my money for how they handle autism and how they treat the same people that they claim to help. In fact, in the description of this video, I will be linking some other resources and nonprofits that actually help people with autism and not hurt them. So that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing if you'd like, and join the fam. I post commentary on topics absolutely no one gives a shit about. So if you too love hearing useless information no one else gives a shit about, consider joining the fam. I love y'all, stay safe, and never let anybody take your crown.